Hi all, welcome to CheckPlease, Payload-Agnostic targeted malware. This is a new code release we're doing today, and it started out as a vision for Sandbox evasion checks. We realized soon after that this is a good way to target code for any payload in general, not just for sandboxes, but if you're a red teamer, you should be targeting your code. So this is the idea behind this. My name is Brandon Arvanaghi. I'm an associate consultant at Mandiant. While I've been there, I've written tools for web shell detection, a tool called Stepping Over, and I've done some reverse engineering and tool developing in general. Before Mandiant, I went to a school in Nashville, Tennessee called Vanderbilt.
I'm Chris Truncer. I am a previous sysadmin, now turned red teamer. I lead Mandiant's West Coast Red Team division, and I'm also an open source developer, worked on a couple different projects out there.
So in this talk, we're going to talk about how antivirus has evolved over the days, such that something like CheckPlease can come in handy. Behavioral detection is a new game of cat and mouse, and we're going to discuss how that works. We're going to go through some checks that we've implemented, and we're going to release the code base for it. Now, why are we implementing checks in different languages? This is the important note. We are not delivering ransomware. Okay, we're beating a dead horse with this, but if you remember with WannaCry, the malware author got cute and added a sandbox evasion check that eventually cost him probably millions of dollars, a URL check. And because he got cute, millions of dollars were lost, and some 22-year-old kid is now famous, is now the James Bond of cybersecurity. This is not what we do. We care about our payloads. If it goes onto another system, it's typically a bad thing. We want to know where we're executing and how we're executing.
All right, so antivirus evasion. Antivirus is obviously, as everyone knows, existed for quite some time after the beginning of people beginning to realize, hey, we can actually write some malware to do some bad stuff on other computers. So companies saw, hey, this is a great business opportunity. Let's try to solve this problem because it's not a solved problem anymore. So as everyone knows, antivirus companies initially tried to solve this problem by writing static signatures because that was the way to go. It was probably the best software to actually remove and eradicate different malware that's out there. And it worked. But they probably also didn't anticipate the cat and mouse game that between that attackers and blue teamers and antivirus companies and really just defenders overall had. These were effective initially for a whole 5 minutes, as you can imagine, until the attackers were able to change one tiny thing and instantly bypass whatever signature that was created that tried to block your malware. So automation helped when they started trying to figure out, okay, how can we search for as many different patterns in malware, try to create multiple different signatures where it's hard for a static piece of malware to just evade and change one thing and evade all detection. So the thing is, static signatures, again, is, at least in my opinion, a dead method of trying to detect any sort of malware. In conjunction with other methods, it can be useful, but it, as the lone source of an indication of malware, is not something that can be truly relied upon. Fail, anything custom that anyone writes, any other tool out there that does antivirus evasion is going to easily bypass this sort of means of detection. The biggest and best way to do it is, again, writing your own custom stuff. If you can do that, it defeats antivirus because there's just nothing out there at that point to be able to protect it. It's never written before. You wrote it yourself. So companies obviously began to see this and try to determine, okay, static signatures isn't working. Maybe it starts off okay and does a decent job, but there needs to be some other additional indicator or means to actually determine if something is malicious. Well, they came around with behavioral detection. What this was is, if malware is in an environment, what can the machine that's running it observe about the malware? What is that doing? So, basic stuff. I mean, this is things a lot of people already know. Behavioral-based detection looks at network traffic. Is it making any interesting DNS requests? Is it making any TCP, HTTP connections out to systems maybe that they've never categorized before? Is it communicating with known bad domains or IPs? File creation and deletion. It's looking at temporary files that are being dropped on disk, locations of them, what file names are called. Is it mass deleting or encrypting everything all over the system that is running? Those are registry modifications. Persistence 101 that probably everyone learns is a registry run key, right? So if they see you writing a piece of malware or code running that's immediately creating a run key on a system, it's probably a decent indicator that something's a little weird. It'll also look for any processes or child processes that have been created or existing ones that are destroyed. I mean, this is obviously just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many different things that a program or people can observe when malware is running to try to determine if it actually is malicious or not. So this is just really the start. Initially, a lot of different malware was probably developed in C, C++, C# as well, and antivirus started to get better at observing that. It started to be able to make better risk decisions if, hey, is this C code or this C# code malicious or not? And there is, because that's all that antivirus really saw, especially on Windows systems, that's the main language people are developing. So they had to build out the capability to be able to determine, okay, how can I actually really look at the true nature of this code that is running? However, malware authors, again in this cat and mouse game, started to change up their tactics. So everyone writes in C, C++, C# initially. What if we do something in Python? What if we write some code in Ruby, Golang, PowerShell, and dare I say Perl? Why would we do that? Well, here's like an interesting sample. So this is basically a interpreter, Metasploit stager. This is just a C version of it. And so you see you have like variables being declared. You have, this is a shellcode. So this is the main code that's going to load up whatever rat of choice that you are trying to get on the system. And these function calls down here, basically all they do is allocate memory to put that shellcode in, copies the shellcode into memory on a system, runs that shellcode, and just says, okay, just let my rat run. Essentially, don't close this program until you exit your rat. So this is in C. Again, just remember these kind of functions, virtuality. So this is actually in Python. So this is the same exact code. This is the same exact shell code. And this is literally the same exact function calls. So virtuality, RTL move memory, create thread with a single object. So there, again, right here. So this is exactly the same code, exactly the same function calls, exactly the same order that everything is done. The only difference in this case is this is written in Python versus the original is written in C. So the question is why, again, why are malware authors writing and developing in different languages? Well, they observed that the second that they changed from C to C# or C to like Python or Ruby or something else, instantly bypassed all detection. Like we were able to just completely bypass with the same exact function calls. It didn't matter. So this is really kind of where we are today in this game of cat and mouse with antivirus companies, defenders out there, where attackers strike initially, defenders detect it, attackers mod their code, restart all over again. We'll start a new strike, see how it works, modify any sort of detection. Signatures by defenders leads to new obfuscation techniques, obviously, and new obfuscation techniques or encryption leads to new signatures. So it's this sort of work that we're just constantly going back and forth, trying to figure out how to attack versus defenders trying to defend. And so this kind of leads to dynamic analysis. Let's look and figure out, is dynamic analysis now the best way to do everything just by itself? Because it should completely detect everything, right? Well, that's obviously not our opinion. Dynamic analysis, we think, is now basically the new battleground, where everything is going to be going on, where if your code is running on a system you're not targeting, what can they do with it? Like if A sandbox is a great example. If you're writing code and if there's no checks in the environment to see, is this exactly where I want to be? Is this the system that I'm targeting? Then do they have a better chance of analyzing and determining if it's malicious or not? So what malware developers have started to do is perform basic checks on systems. They're looking, is this system maybe joined to the proper domain that I expect it to be running on? Is it maybe running under the context of a user account that I expect? Basically, anything that they can try to do to validate that they're on a system that they're trying to be and not on a system that maybe does some analysis of it or a reverse engineered system. If in a sandbox, you probably want it to be the most benign program out there, just perform some basic math, become a calculator. Well, so where do we go from here? Again, filing static detection is kind of the old school tool. Like, that's fun, it still works, it's incredibly effective, but it's not exactly where everything is today, since there's been a large shift to looking at the actual dynamic code of what you're doing. So it's really important, in our opinion, to write code that protects itself, essentially, to allow you to enumerate the system that you're on, look for user activity, and perform host metadata checks, if you will, to actually validate that you're running code exactly where you want to.
Introducing CheckPlease. So Sandbox is an isolated environment typically on a VM. Does not look like a real computer if you analyze the underlying structures, the system. So if we find ourselves in that environment, we don't run. We're a calculator, right? We don't want to be analyzed. We don't want to be detected. Like Chris said, we started out with C and C#, but we're the first, we believe, to implement PowerShell, Python, Go, Ruby, and Perl. All these other languages where you can add these dynamic checks as well. Here's a breakdown of what the repository looks like when you check it out. We're going to release it today. You can see all the different kind of check topics over here. When you go into the folder, you'll see it enumerated in different languages. C, C#, Python, Go, Ruby, PowerShell.
The interesting thing, again, this is not all-inclusive. This is the screen size we can fit that would try to be on the screen without actually making you try to just stare at and read it. We have tons more checks that are on here that are usable. And one of the main reasons, again, for doing this is because, like Brandon mentioned, we've seen a lot of code for basic checks written in C or C#, but not as much in Python or Ruby. And it's not like the wheel is being reinvented in this scenario. We're not, there's no claim that these ideas are 100% original, because it's in everyone's mind. Okay, let's just do some basic checks on how to determine if this is what the system we're trying to run on. But what we haven't seen is one centralized repository where you can go to determine what sort of checks you want to validate on your code, and just be able to pick and choose from anything or everything in any language. So that's kind of one of the main things you're looking for, right?
So going along nicely with what Chris just said is that we made this very extensible. So we want contributions from the community so we can add new detection techniques to the central repository. So anytime you have a payload you want to execute, you can just copy and paste and stack different checks together for your payload. So again, the reason we did this in multiple languages, not just C and C#, is number one, the uptick in payload deliverance in non-C languages. We're seeing more and more payloads come through in PowerShell, as you all know, Python, a little bit of Go these days. On top of that, what Chris talked about with the antivirus evasion, some languages aren't caught while others are, and that's because some AV vendors don't do a great job. We want our malware to run on the system we expect. We should know things about that system ahead of time. We do. We know the username a lot of the times. We know the person, the domain, so we can target it. And this is a central repository for sandbox vendors and antivirus vendors to harden their systems, to harden their security products.
Yeah, all of this is completely open source. I mean, it's not hidden. So any actual sandbox company or antivirus company that wants to look and see how it's being implemented, you can just easily see all the code that's publicly available.
So let's talk about some of these techniques. Daddy issues. Now, I didn't realize before I met some of you how much this is going to hit home for some of the people in this conference. That's why we're all hackers. Anyway, this is Dr. Phil. He's a bit of a cultural icon in America. When you execute a payload on a system, you should know the parent process of that payload. For example, if you give a malicious Word document, and that will spawn a child process, which is your malicious code, the parent process should be Microsoft Word. Now, your malware should check for this. It can say, hey, if my parent process is actually just a command prompt, if someone executed my payload from CMD or PowerShell.exe, this is probably someone analyzing my code. I put this in a Word document. It should not be in CMD or PowerShell. So, in every eProcess struct in Windows is the PEB, which contains a reference to the parent process ID. How we can get to the parent process name is by taking that PEB ID and basically doing a WMI query for all processes on the system and looking for the process name. So with that parent process ID that you see, you can search all the processes, see which process ID is that one, and you'll know what the parent process name is. And this is an implementation in Python. So what this does is, by default, it'll check to see if the parent process is Firefox. It'll get the PPID with that line over there, OS get PPID. You'll do that WMI query right there, and you'll check. If the expected parent process is actually the parent process, then continue to run. If you expected it to come from Firefox or Microsoft Word, run. But if it's not, hey, someone's analyzing this, do not run your calculator. And again, we implement these in several different languages, so I just wanted to show you one more. This is a PowerShell implementation of the same thing. Same exact logic. PowerShell kind of wraps some of this functionality nicely, so you don't need to get as nitty-gritty with this. Next up is sleeping. So this is probably what a lot of people try first, either when performing Sandbox or trying to evade some different sandboxes that are out there, or just AV if they think the antivirus is going to run in its own mini virtual machine on the system. They're going to try, you know what, let's just sleep for like 30 seconds or a minute, or 5 minutes and 10 minutes. Because the Sandbox can't run forever, right? It's only got limited resources. You can't just delay the workflow every time a new piece of malware or a new executable or something comes onto a system. So, again, the first thought that a lot of people do is, hey, you know what, let's make our payload just sleep an hour and just hope that we exhaust that time limit for malware to run before the Sandbox stops. So this should work, right? Well, the obvious problem is Sandbox developers also know about this technique. They're going to basically look for sleep calls in any code that you write and hook that function. And the easiest way that they combat doing this is by just fast forwarding. So if they see that there's a sleep happening, and even though it's supposed to be for 30 seconds, they're just going to skip that whole sleep to move directly onto the next piece of code and continue execution. So the question that we ask ourselves, okay, how can this be combated? How can we, knowing that they're going to try to fast forward through this, prevent that from happening or have some sort of detection of that? So the easiest way to really do this is let's outsource time validation to an NTP server that's out there. One thing that we are doing now is if we're implementing this time-based check is right when the payload starts execution or the code starts execution, let's make a request from an NTP server and get the current time that the payload is starting to run. After we do that, try to sleep for, if it's 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, it doesn't matter. It's any amount of time like that whatever the user defines. And then finally, once we're done sleeping, make another request for an NTP server again to get the current time at that point. So now, let's just compare the two times. Now that we have both of those requests, if we're expecting 600 seconds of sleeping, so 10 minutes, basically just do a diff on those time results. Did we actually get a 10 minutes difference in time? If so, it's fair to assume that
you're probably not in a sandbox because your time wasn't hooked. However, if you do 2 time requests and you basically get them like a second apart from each other, you know that your code, your sleep was hooked essentially and fast forwarded, and so it didn't actually complete that 10-minute wait time. And that's really only going to happen on some sort of a sandbox again. Maybe some reverse engineering your code is manually hooking it. And so you can assume that we're likely in a sandbox. You don't actually want to run your malicious code. So if that happens, let's just perform something innocuous. Again, we like just making our code become calculators, just have it do basic math, and then not do anything non-malicious at this point. An alternative option to making NTP requests, assuming that the environment that your code may be running in is having its network traffic monitored, may be to try to develop a function that creates maybe a predetermined amount of time. So let's say you create a function that after you perform a lot of math equations inside of it that you're looping over it, maybe it takes half a second to run. Well, if you know that a function is going to take roughly half a second to run, you can loop and call that function X amount of times to hit the targeted amount of time that you're expecting to delay before you hit your real code. So that's another option before. Here's a basic example that Brandon developed. This is in Python again. We're just basically performing UDP requests. We're talking to uspoolntp.org, pulling the current time. And so right here is where he's doing that. We're then sleeping for that however amount of time that you determine. So again, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever. And then we're performing the second time. And now we're checking the difference between those two. So if that difference isn't exactly what we expect, plus or minus a second or two, something around there, then there's an issue, and we can assume that something is going on with the system, and we may not want our real code to run.
So as I discussed, the sandbox is an isolated environment that does not actually look like a real computer if you get down to it. Real computers have users on them. Users do things on those computers. On sandboxes, you're typically just running malware, pretending to be a computer enough to pass basic checks. And what I want to reemphasize, what Chris said earlier, we're not reinventing any wheel here. All these are very publicly known techniques to evade a sandbox, but it's good that we've actually implemented them, and again, in different languages. So what is some of this normal activity? People browse the web pages. People have files in certain folders, and they do things with the mouse that you can predict. It's not going to be static. The mouse is not going to be doing nothing, for example. So look at these indicators, and if we find these indicators that a user's been on the system or is actively on the system, we'll run. And if it seems like it's really no user, it's just a program running, looks like a computer kind of, we won't. Mouse clicks. Users on computers click their mouse. Now we have some sandboxes getting smarter and automating mouse clicks. So they'll click around so the malware thinks that there's someone clicking, but in reality it's an automated program. What we can do is set a minimum number of clicks that we require the user to put in before we execute our payload. So you'll pass in, this is a Python implementation of the mouse clicks check. You'll pass in a number of clicks, 10, 12 mouse clicks left and right. And while that has not happened, your payload just sits there. After 12 clicks, it runs.
And the thing that's nice about this is, depending upon obviously when you're performing your attack, or attack may not be the best word to use, but whenever this is getting deployed and beginning execution on the system that you're running, you can sit there all day. Again, you can set this to a high number of clicks that you expect, and just sit there for hours before any actual execution does trigger this, because you don't care. You're more worried about those really quick returns when something else automated may be running it. But if it takes 6 hours to actually get your callback to ensure that you're on the system that you want to be on, that's okay. Right? Another one with mouse, the position. If the system is on and you're at your computer, odds are you're going to move your mouse. So what we can do is see the X and Y coordinate of where your mouse is, sleep for a period of time, hours, minutes, seconds, whatever, and then come back to that.
And if those two coordinates are the same, after 2 hours, and it seems like the user's on the system, maybe the user's not on the system. Maybe we don't run if that's the case. So we expect the x and y coordinates of that mouse to be in a different spot, and if they are, we execute our payload. This is a Golang implementation. And how I just picked which one to show, it was random. We have 5 different languages, 5 or 6 or 7 to choose from. But this is how it looks like in Go. And Go is a pretty cool language if you all are interested in learning about it. It gives you a nice way to interact with all these core DLLs. Web browsers. Often sandboxes only have the bare bones of what it means to be a computer. They might just have Internet Explorer. But I'm guessing everyone here has Chrome installed, maybe even Firefox for other reasons. So if all of you do that, a computer, it's likely we can expect a computer over the average computer. So here's us checking some registry keys that would indicate these browsers are installed. This is in PowerShell. So if we find these, we can execute. If we don't, we won't. USB drives, I like this one. Okay. So if you have a computer, odds are you plugged in several different USB devices into it at some point. In Windows 7, there's actually a subkey, and a key below that is actually created for each USB drive connected. So you have the history of every single USB drive you've ever connected to your computer, just stored in the registry. Now, everyone here has probably plugged one in. Sandbox is not so much. They don't do that as much. So what we can do is check for those subkeys. We enumerate those subkeys. They're stored right there in that USB store in Windows 7. And if they pass our threshold, we'll execute. If not, we won't. This is in Ruby. All right.
So we've looked at basic programmatic bypasses. We've looked a lot at user behavior as well, or looking for indicators of user behavior. So now another thing we can obviously look at is host metadata, like just data about the system or systems that we are hoping for our code to actually run on. Again, like the main thing why we're trying to make this targeted is that this is going to stop our spread, and host metadata is a great way to actually ensure that we're only on the system or systems that we want to target. One easy thing, if you have the ability to, prior to really starting your actual campaign, again, it comes down to time if you have the ability, but write a basic piece of code that ideally you can get someone to run in their system that does nothing malicious. Maybe it performs basic enumeration of maybe the domain that the computer is joined to, the username, maybe internal IP address ranges that you're expecting, or that it has. Anything like that. Maybe there's some sort of an easy way to determine their naming scheme. And if you can do this ahead of time and actually get that basic recon information out, so over like an HTTP or HTTPS post request to a server you control, you can really easily create targeted payloads using host or domain or system just metadata. So certain things before you start running your malicious code is, hey, well, we already know sandboxes or virtual machines will probably have known DLLs that are up and running in a system. So let's check and see if there's anything that is blacklisted that we blacklist that are virtualized DLLs that we can use to determine if it's a virtual machine or not. Here is another basic implementation of this. This is just in PowerShell again. We're basically just looking at, for these lists of bad DLLs that we have, and we're basically iterating over giant loops and trying to search and find, hey, are any of these DLLs loaded? If so, assume that you're on a virtual machine or something that we actually don't want, or on a system where we don't want that code running at the same time as our code, and just exit out. Another super basic, easy one is the MAC address. I mean, if we can find, maybe we know that it's they're all using Dell systems or some brand, we can easily hard code in the value of at least that initial part of the MAC address to determine, hey, this is what systems that we trust. And at the same time, we can also search for MAC addresses that we don't want to trust. So these are actually what we're calling bad MAC addresses. I think it's this 000C29, I believe, is the prefix for like VMware systems. It's either that one or 080027. Anyways, like we know that those are the prefix for traditional VMware virtual machines that are created. There's also additional ones here that we've tracked down that can be used to determine, hey, we don't want to be on any system that has that string inside of it. And so we'll just perform a basic check on our code to look for that and enumerate it. Another thing, so in this case, what time zone are you expecting like your payloads to run in? How are they actually, I mean, obviously getting time for like their environment, their work that system is in. Well, we found a lot of different sandboxes do run specifically in UTC time zone, but you can also easily, obviously, customize it. So if you're expecting malware to, or your code to run on a different time zone, you can just hard code that value into it. And if it's not exactly that, then just abort anything you're doing and be calculated. So here's a basic implementation of just looking and comparing time zones of what we expect versus what's actually running on the system.
Process names. Chris mentioned DLLs. A lot of those DLLs were specifically for setting up the VMware environment, a VirtualBox environment, or a debugging environment. Process names are also a good indicator of this. So we'll look for them. We'll look for TCP/View, Wireshark, Fiddler, VMware, Process Explorer. You probably use these tools only when it comes to analyzing malware, right? So we don't want that on our real system that we're targeting, because that's an analysis system. Disk space. VMs typically have less disk space, and VMs are fighting back on this. Sandboxes are spoofing the amount of disk space. So none of these by themselves, I don't think, would be the end-all be-all to predict that you're not on a sandbox, but nesting them together, customizing, targeting your payload, not just looking for sandboxes, but targeting a specific system, I don't think you can lose. I think the red team always comes out on top. You can set the minimum you want, 50 gigabytes, 200 gigabytes. This is an implementation in Go. Windows updates, this is an interesting one. It's newer. So you all update your Windows systems automatically, sometimes manually. But there's a way we can specifically query the automatic updates that come with Windows that you need to periodically do manually. So in doing that, we can see, sandboxes probably don't do that as much. They have one job. It's to run in an environment they expect. They don't want their system to be updated, so they can't predict what's going on in the system. So if we look for a certain number of updates, we can predict if it's a sandbox.
Another thing you can have on this is, no one here is like a 3-month, 6-month patch cycle, right? Like we all update our systems basically right away, right when the patches come out. If you can expect or hope that your environment actually updates fairly regularly, and you want to make sure that the systems that you're targeting aren't from like a bad snapshot from a long time ago, well, why not just look at your maybe most recent Windows updates that you have and slightly modify this check to validate, if this system actually has that update installed, you can assume it's probably something not from an old snapshot that's restarted every single time that's automated to run your code. So here you'll see the source name is Microsoft Windows Update Plan. That would be the automatic Windows update. The registry size, your registry will get bloated with use. That's just how Windows works. You install things, you forget about them. It just adds and adds and adds. But if a computer's not used that often, it'll stay relatively small. So we can set a value that we compare the registry size against. If it's not bigger than a certain size, the computer's not in use, it might be a sandbox, it may not just be what we want. So we have tons of these checks available. We want you to check it out online after this talk. We talked about domain earlier, the host name, some anti-debug mechanisms you can throw in there, check for certain VM indicative files, and registry keys and values in different keys, the RAM size, many more. And we're only going to add to this, it's going to keep growing.
you can target your code even better. So we again think it's important to nest these checks so that you can put them in basically just if-else statements. And if you pass all these ifs, then you run your code. If not, you're denied payload. So all these checks are available, like we mentioned. Just plug it in and you'll be happier. I'm going to pass it off to Chris to talk about Payload.
So there's really only one slide on this, but I mean, when we were talking, started developing these different payloads, we thought that this was a good opportunity for a tool out there to use this. And in Veil's latest version, I started adding super basic checks of just like we mentioned, checking and validating the domain that the system is on, checking to see if it's the expected user that we expect to be running that payload. So this was also a great opportunity. Well, hey, all of these new checks are being created by Brandon here. I can easily start to port this and add these in to Veil so people can start using this to create more targeted payloads. So we did that. I mean, so we just open this, and we'll merge all these checks in. Sorry. All right, so now, like all these checks that he was going over, and plus significantly more, have been added into Veil into a lot of the different languages that it has. And this is something that we're going to continue to develop and create more payloads for it. So it's available for that.
And we just made this available. So have fun, give us your feedback. We're excited to hear what you all think. Thank you very much for listening. Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions?
If you have any questions, feel free to come up or.
Yeah. Have you tried checking what display drivers are working on systems?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Because some are coded in, some don't change.
Absolutely, that's a very good one. We have
Also,
it's on our
check
list.
if it's running like CLI or GUI, and because some sandboxes just run blind, and like if you're running a system that's clicking with maps and it doesn't have GUI,
Yeah,
that's a red flag.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's we have a lot in. I don't know if we have exactly that one, but it's an excellent suggestion. We'll get added in. Thank you. All right, thank you.